Hi there, Bob. How you doing?
Good as always.
I haven't seen you for a long time.
Indeed, it's been a while.
Since our last video, it's been like
minutes.
Yes. Right. So what have we got here? What are you holding there?
58 Les Paul Standard.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Sounding absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And you're going through what amplifier?
So Mystic Blues. It's your Mystic Blues called Sally.
Right.
50 watts.
Yes.
6L6s.
It rings a bell.
But also going through some gadgetry here that you'd better explain because you own it. So a preamp of sorts.
Well, we've got a Crucial Audio Echo Nugget, which is providing a little bit of a slap back delay ambience, and a Reverberamo Victoria amplifiers made this kind of a reverb and vibrato unit for the spring reverb. So that just makes because we're using this Dumble clone without a dumbulator. We're going straight in there, but the valve, we're going through 4 valves effectively before we hit the amp, so just softening the tone up. And then I'm going through what pedal am I going through?
This is a Tanabe combination Dumb Kudo and Zen Kudo.
Right.
Which Mr. Robin Ford uses.
Really?
Yeah, this is about 7 items in the manufacturing schedule apart from his.
Really?
Yeah, he was just before me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is quite
Tanabe's
smooth.
unusual. He actually publishes his production schedule, including the client's names, or he used to. So I could see that Robin was 7 in front of me.
Incredible. And Larry Carlton uses one as well, doesn't he?
Who does?
Larry Carlton?
Maybe.
I think he does.
They're nice pedals.
Yes. It's very smooth. So Bob's overdrive was coming from the Mystic Blues preamp. It wasn't a pedal, whereas I'm using a pedal, and so I'm also using a Filmer Sound, which was made for me by Bill Crenard, modified, and and then this is a ESP Navigator made in 2012, and we're going to be comparing these two guitars.
54 years age difference.
54 years, yes.
Yeah.
The guitars, not us.
Well, there is still some age difference, as you might have noticed.
Well, Bob's actually 5 years younger than me.
I just don't look very well on it. Right. So yes. Well, I mean, it's an interesting comparison because I mean, you know, they're ostensibly the same shape, same electronic configuration, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
For reasons of your own, you don't have a switch tip.
The reason I don't have a switch tip is because Eric Clapton didn't have a switch tip whilst he was recording the Blues Breakers album.
And as we all know, that is the secret of the tone.
Well, of course.
I mean, I could sound like Eric Clapton if I simply unscrew my switch tip.
You know what? That's not the real one, is it though?
No, it isn't. You're right.
Because if it was, I'd run out.
It's
I'd
cheap,
take it off, Bob, now.
Cheap
Run out the door.
Yeah, the real one's in the case. Yeah.
So this is kind of I really liked Eric Clapton's Les Paul, the photographs from the Decca Studios, where he has uncovered pickups, the white one and the black pickup, and I just wanted to copy that with this guitar. You know, I just thought it's really cool.
Well, rumour has it that he took the pickup covers off because he discovered that they'd be slightly hotter and slightly brighter. That's what the rumour says. But then there's a whole load of other stuff about did he or did he not use a treble booster through his Marshall Bruce breaker and all the rest of it. There's a bunch of conflicting stories about that. But I do remember back in the 70s when I had a not particularly special Gibson SG Deluxe, which was, you know, the nearest thing I could get to a twin humbucker Gibson when I was a teenager. But I took the pickup covers off, and I don't know whether I was imagining it, but they did seem to be a little bit
grittier,
treblier. A little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I can't really hear. My ears aren't that great in the upper spectrum, but from too much.
You wait until you get on a bit.
But you know, I think yeah, maybe there's something in it, but I don't think it's. I think it's more the look. I just like the look of the Clapton sort of. I want it to be like Eric Clapton. He's Les Paul. I just like, and then I've got these top hats here. Are they called top hats?
Those are reflectors.
Reflectors and the top hats.
Top hats.
And this is kind of the Gary Moore. Gary Moore did it to Peter Green's Les Paul when he owned it, and I just like that kind of.
And I think that young Joe fellow, Italian name.
Joe
plays great blues, pretty quick.
Joe, I don't know anybody.
Glasses, nice suits.
I don't know anybody called Joe that plays nice blues.
No, you know the one I mean. He Joe. Also, on his signature gold Les Paul, He's got two top hats at the top and two,
Oh, you mean
two reflectors at the bottom.
Joe Bonamassa.
Joe Bonamassa, Joe B.
Joe Bonamassa.
Jobo.
Joe Bonamassa. Great guitar player.
Wonderful. Whatever anyone says about him, I like his playing.
I don't care what anyone says about Joe Bonamassa. He's a red hot guitar picker.
I love his playing.
He is a man. You know, we got a lot of love for him, haven't we?
We do.
Do we love him?
I do. I'm full of admiration for him because he's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic singer. He's obviously worked hard on his voice.
He's a great singer.
Fantastic performer. He works all the time. He works so hard.
Socks off.
And he owns his whole estate. So he owns all his songs, his recording, his publishing. He buys. He takes.
He's an inspiration.
He rents venues to play them. He doesn't use a promoter or anything like that. He's self-made, self-contained, and I think he deserves every success.
Do you realise we end up talking about we end up talking about Joe Bonamassa in lots of our videos?
We do.
And
some people out there think he's great, and some people out there think less so, and everyone's welcome to that opinion.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
But he's a kind of like he's a controversial figure in a way because, you know, there is that kind of that line. Some people like him and some people don't. You know?
So I think some people think he's crossed the line between being an artist and being a commercial guy. And I think he's got 1 foot, each foot firmly seated in one side and the other.
In one sense, I feel sorry for him because when he says something, you know, because I say the most stupid things, but I'm not famous, so nobody cares. But he's famous. If he says anything, then it's in print the next day in the guitar community, and everyone's slagging him off.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know, that is the downside of being famous.
Of fame, yeah. Well, fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. So
yeah, I think he's a cool guy. He's a cool fella.
Yeah,
and he's a great player. He's a red hot guitar picker. You know,
and he's, you know, we're kind of, you know, 2 degrees of separation from him. You know, we're connected through him through some of our friends like Kurt Fletcher, who's good friends with Joe.
The best blues guitarist on the planet.
Many say so. I agree.
The best blues guitarist on the planet.
And the nicest, most polite man you could ever want to meet.
Yeah.
What a fantastic guy.
He's a one-off.
He's an example, is what he is. He's an example.
Very cool man.
So anyway, enough moralising. Back to the guitar.
Yeah, where were we? Oh, mate.
We went off into a right old lips there.
We're going to get lots of complaints about this. Do you realise?
Yeah.
Don't rub that leg. Don't rub that leg.
Got somewhere to put my hand.
What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to put a microphone, especially here, so you can hear it even louder. That person that complained.
Now, hang on. On the internet, I've heard. I don't know this personally, of course. You understand, because I'm a clean-living fellow. But I understand this is what's known as ASMR.
What's that mean?
Well, apparently it's a really big thing in porno, where you get lots of very quiet sounds, like rustling of sheets,
overdub it.
Rustling of lingerie, whispering, and all that kind of stuff. I've
never watched it. So
never seen it myself.
Never.
But apparently
Good
so.
Christian you are.
Indeed. But you know, apparently so. So a bit. I'm giving it a bit of the old guitar show ASMR here. I've got to stop it now. I've become incredibly self-conscious.
Sorry, Bobby.
Right. This is degenerated.
Okay. So
back to the Les Pauls.
We're comparing this Les Paul here, guys, which was made in Japan, to this one here, which was made in the US of A.
It was.
And do you want to start this, because I don't know what to say really.
Well, okay. Just the only thing I've said it before in an earlier video today and other videos. The one thing I find really difficult about when somebody gives me their modern reissue Les Paul and say, you know, have a feel of this. It's probably a really nice guitar.
Yeah.
Probably looks amazing. It's probably got more flame on it than this will ever have. All the rest of it. When I pick them up, they feel different. They feel, particularly the necks, feel different. It's not the shape, because they've got some pretty good shape, you know, with computer CNC stuff now.
Yeah.
They've got some really good, you know, neck shaping. It's the feel. And the only way I can describe it is this guitar always feels kind of dry to me. It never feels sticky. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas all the modern reissues I've played, they all feel like they're covered in a very, very thin film of cling film.
Yeah, I mean, I had to get some wire wool and actually take off the finish of this neck.
But this feels quite dry. It's a pretty good example. You know, this is standing up very well against most of the reissues. And you know, I mean, these days, I mean, you can get a reissue Les Paul for, I don't know, £1,500 up to 6, 7, 8, 10 grand. Yeah. So I mean, it's big money.
It's big money.
Big money, you know.
And you know, like it's crazy that they're doing these signature models and stuff which are worth 20 grand and just ridiculous. And you know, people are paying this money. I don't understand it.
And this collector's choice ones where they're actually taking individual named Les Pauls and producing short runs of them. And some of my friends have got these guitars, and they are really very nice, very ornate guitars. They're you know, beautifully presented, but they're not. They're not. You know,
tell the truth, Paul.
I would think for about 10,000 quid, I think you could actually really do some serious replica and reproduction. Right. I really do. And maybe they have, and I just haven't seen them yet.
Well, there was a guy here in England who was, unfortunately, he's now passed on, but he was called Terry Morgan.
Terry from Telford.
He was producing, and I played a lot of them because my friends have owned them, Terry Morgan guitars.
Yeah.
And you know, they were very, very good, but I never played one which kind of like really spoke to me. And everybody that I know that owned them sold them on. And I asked them, why did you sell them on? You got, you know, because the same reason, there was something not quite right about them. And there's nothing about Terry Morgan. They're brilliant guitars. You know, Terry Morgan was a very expert at what he did. But these are just very hard to replicate.
And mind you, those change hands now for what, pushing $7,000.
Yeah, because it's the forums. It's just the people gassing off on the forums saying, you know, it's supply and demand. It's what's it called? Snake oil.
You know? And as you say, they're good.
They're good guitars.
They're good.
They're as good as a Gibson custom shop reissue.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't say they're better.
Some might say better, but actually Gibson's moved its game on a bit.
Yeah, I'd say
and its
par.
pricing.
I'd say they're on par with and I played both. I played lots of Gibson, you know, custom shop, whatever.
Yeah.
I played Terry Morgan's, and I'd say they're on the same level.
Yeah.
If you want my God's honest truth, that from my experience, this is my opinion. You know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, this is a pretty good guitar. It plays great.
Well, I had this guitar, and what happened was, the story was, I won't go into details, but I had to sell it. So I sold it to somebody in Scandinavia, and then I played a load of other Les Pauls, and then I realised that this was my Les Paul. This was the one.
So you had to beg him to get it back.
I just said, look, if you ever sell it, please, you know, contact me. And he very graciously said that he needed, you know, the money, and so I got it back. But for me, what this does, because Mojo Pickups made me some prototypes of a reverse wound rather than a magnet flip, Peter Green neck pickup, and when he was developing the Beast Bucker for the Bernie Marsden thing, he gave me one of the prototype for that. So, you know, what you've got here, you've got this really nice sort of, you know, the Peter Green sort of hollow. You know, I think, and it's got this nice chime to it. That kind of, you know, so it does have a certain sparkle about it, which I haven't noticed on other Les Pauls.
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of it inspired me. We were talking about this in the other video we did. This guitar inspires me. I don't play Les Pauls much anymore because I think they're boring. Everyone plays them. But this is my holy grail Les Paul. This is, you know. So for me, the search is over. I'm really happy with this guitar ball.
And very nice it is too. It's great.
But it's not a 58. It's not a 58.
No.
But why is that? Why is that?
Well, because it wasn't made in 1958.
Okay, let me explain it like this. When Eric Clapton played his Les Paul, it was younger than this one.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So if that was a 60 and he was playing it around 66, yes, he was 6 years old.
This was made in 2012.
Yeah. So that's 8 years old.
So it's actually older than his one was.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we forget that these guitars that have now become lauded and vintage and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
They, once upon a time, they were second-hand guitars of no particular age.
Yeah, and a lot of people are selling these old bursts saying, well, it's an old burst, it's had 50 years, that's why it's so good. But Well, yeah, but what about Clapton? It wasn't 50 years old then, and it was still good, right?
Well, it's sounded. All we have with any certainty is we have the recorded evidence. Okay, all the rest of it. There's lots of stories, some corroborated, some not, which you've covered in previous videos. But we have got the recordings. You listen to the recordings, and they are indisputable. You go, this guitar player's on fire, and the gear he's using, this Les Paul through this Marshall amplifier, is just working.
So the magic was there. The magic was there.
And
right from the
tens of thousands of us have tried to do that, and the work of a few other guitarists, obviously Hendrix, latterly people like Larry Carlton and Robin Ford and stuff. You know, we've been trying to do it ever since. So back to Clapton, must have been doing something right in that room.
Yeah, and the guitar sounded magical from the get-go.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that it had to be 50 years old. They've always sounded like that. They've always sounded good.
Yeah.
So why is it so hard for a replica maker to? I mean, like I said, I've had the good fortune, thanks to Bob, to get out and play some real 59s, 58s, 60 guitars, and I'm more than happy with this one.
Yeah. My only long-term experience of a custom shop is that I have a custom shop historic Firebird 1 from about 2012, about the same age as that, which a name guitarist friend of mine, he had two and he sold me one. And it's a really nice guitar. Right. It's a really nice guitar.
And did Eric Clapton play one of them recently?
Well,
do you have some experience?
Well, Gibson have produced a reissue of the 64 that he famously played out in America at about 1968 in the later days of Cream. So yes, and I was out there when those guitars were delivered, and so we got to play them.
And what did Clapton say?
And I think he, after a bit of conversation between a few of us, I think he concluded that Gibson had done really quite a good job, and they are really good. My custom shop historic, nice guitar. It's not a patch on my friend's original 64.
Right.
These latest reissues, which is it's a very small run. 75 or 100 tops, and I've actually played I've played 4 of them.
Right.
Out there, and they're pretty good actually.
Right.
They're pretty good. Now, whether a Firebird's easier to imitate, if you like, and maybe a 64 guitars are easier to imitate than a 59 guitar, I don't know. But your question is still outstanding. Why, with everything we know and all the tools and resources we have these days, is it still so difficult?
Yeah.
And because if it wasn't difficult, the price of these would surely collapse. If you could go out and buy a modern one that was as good or better, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mind you, it doesn't work in cars, does it? I mean, you know, a family car these days is a better car, and it's probably almost as quick and probably got the same stopping distance as a really, really expensive collectible car from the late 1950s. But the collectible car from the 1950s would still be a shed load of money, and the family car would be a family car.
Yeah. I mean, sorry to interrupt you there, Bob. Guys.
He's going to make me start stroking my leg again.
Please don't tell me I've interrupted the hallowed man, the holy man, but you know, your fans are going to get really angry with me. You know that, don't you? They're going to be like, that bastard again, he's interrupted. I only come here for Bob. Right.
That's what I always say.
So did the actress to the bishop. The thing about what I like about this guitar, in a way, is ESP Navigator. They don't relic the guitar. It is what it is. They make a new guitar. It's just brand new, and so it's up to you to relic it, and up to you to put the ears on it, and to make it into something. And that's what I like. And as you can see here, Bob, it is now getting some wear.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. They just make a guitar, and they're not too fussed about things like, I think maybe some of the measurements are metric, like the nut width is 43 millimeters. That's what they aim for, you know. Or the calves are hand finished, so the tops are different. Every top is going to be slightly different because it's done by hand. But they just make a solid guitar. They're not bothered about all the aging and all that stuff. You know, if you want the aging, then you just got to play it a lot, you know, and bash it around the house or So that's kind of what I like, that ethos of
Well, that gets us onto the whole thing about, there's a whole load of people, who love their Relic guitars. Relic guitars are selling really, really well. There are a whole load of people who think, well, it's a bit artificial, isn't it?
I don't buy the whole Relic thing myself.
I don't really buy it. I don't own any Relics, but at the same time, I do have to say, but we've been buying jeans, faded pre-washed jeans.
That's very
for years. Yeah. So whatever floats your boat. It doesn't float my boat, but then I'm lucky enough to have
people are free to do what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, like with this Explorer here, this is another ESP. This is really Relic.
Yeah.
And I'm just lucky that I love the fact that it is Relic.
It's got a fantastic checking in the finish already.
Yeah. And
how old is it?
It's 95. So it's what's that? 95. 20,
15, 20, 25 years old.
25 years. And it's really been played to death. It's knackered in, it's Relic, but it's a natural Relic job, so I love it for that reason, I don't have to...
The one thing I do find about Relics, the one thing I will say, not exactly against them, but about them, is if you find an old guitar, right, it's been played quite a lot, and it feels like it's been played. A Relic looks like it's been dragged around to gigs and all the rest of it. But you pick it up, and it can very often feel exactly like a brand new guitar.
Yes.
The necks aren't played in, and that for me, that's a bit of a mismatch. Because one of the reasons I like old guitars is because some poor sod has done a lot of the yards on the guitar to make it feel and sound fantastically smooth. To me, it arrives later.
And a lot of people have said this, but if a guitar isn't Relic and it's old, then it must be not very good.
Well, and there is that, but then again, my 335 is in fantastic condition.
Yeah.
And you look at it and think, oh, is this going to be a dog? Because it's so old and it's in such great condition. But no, it's fantastic. But then again, my Strat, for example, I had to have it refretted because the frets were worn out. My Gold Top had refretted. I've had to wear those in myself.
Yeah.
Through my playing. And I actually looked at the Strat the other day and didn't realise how much I'd done on it. The frets are a bit worn.
Yeah.
And I've never worn frets out on a guitar before.
Should we play a bit of Albatross?
Albatross in E.
Yeah, that's the original key.
Yeah, I know it is. Alright. I like playing in D.
Oh, right.
Oh dear, so again.
When you have a guitar, it's either the one for you or it's not. And like I thought this wasn't. You know, I had to sell it through financial difficulties, but I knew that I kind of was going to miss it. And then I went through a few other Les Pauls, and I realised that this was my Les Paul. This was the one I was destined to play. This was it. And you know, with a Strat, it's the same thing. You know, I took 25 years to find my Stratocaster. And then I found it after 25. It took me 25 years.
Interesting. To your point about, you know, the sometimes people obsess too much about the instrument, and the truth is, you know, the instrument isn't going to make you. It might make you sound a little more like the Edge or Eric Clapton or Jeff Beck or whatever, but it is not going to make you like any of them.
No.
The only thing that is going to make you sound like any of them is if you dedicate yourself completely to sounding like them, or even better, why not sound like yourself?
Yeah.
But we can foment another debate right here, because I've just noticed something, and that is that you have top wrapped your bridge.
I have,
right? And that's that alone is a whole rabbit warren down the forums of people saying how great it is, people saying how it isn't. I've participated myself. I've tried it on this guitar and on my 335. I've seen all the pulls of the old black Les Paul from the catalogue in 1959 that looks top wrapped.
The Selma one is SG's top wrapped.
And you know, I've seen all that and all the rest of it. I've tried it, and honestly, maybe I've just got cloth ears and cloth hands, but I tried it both ways. Really, not only looking for the difference, but almost hoping it would make a difference and take me closer to those bends and all the rest of it. And I couldn't tell a damn bit of difference.
For me, I think I can.
Yeah.
Personally, I know it's a very subtle thing. I'm playing 11, so in standard tuning.
And you feel that they're a little more bendy and slinky,
right? 11. That's
what they say.
Yeah, and I have low action, as Bob knows. My action's quite low on a standard tuning guitar. With 11s, I like it to be easy to play. You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to work hard. So anything to give me a little bit of a more slinky feel, I'm gonna chase. So for me, it's not a tonal thing. It's just a more slinky thing. That's all I'm after.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the guitar, you know, I've had people bring guitars over to this place, and they're dead. The Les Pauls, they're dead. The Les Paul is dead as a dodo. It's beautiful.
It's very common. Very common.
And they're playing it and they're strumming it, and I'm thinking, can't you hear this guitar? It's just, it doesn't have the sparkle.
It kind of feels. It feels a bit. You keep playing. It feels a bit dead, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you can spot it in a moment.
Yeah.
You just actually.
It's got to have that ring, that sparkle. If it doesn't have that, forget it.
Yeah.
It's like, I say this, look, it's like in a relationship, you know, you can't change someone. No, wait a minute, let me, it's like
we're really getting philosophical now.
It's like a drummer, okay? This is my experience.
Oh, now we're into a whole load more trouble.
Right, it's far easier to get a new drummer than to tell the drummer how you want them to play.
Okay.
Because if a drummer can't do what you've got in your head, if it doesn't come naturally to them
I think you could say the same about you could say the same about guitar players. Anybody actually, yeah.
You know, it's fine. So with a guitar, if it doesn't speak to you, if it doesn't inspire you, it's never going. You can change the pickups. Yeah. It's never going. But it either works or it doesn't. In my book.
I think another thing. I mean, there's certainly I learnt this pretty short and sharp when I acquired this guitar. You know, I thought I'd done as much research as I possibly could, but it was a hell of a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And after I got to know it, I realised that there were two things about this guitar that I really hadn't expected, and I can describe both of them. The first thing is these guitars are much brighter than you think they're going to be, because if all you've played is more recent Les Pauls, which are darker, and I'm talking about acoustically.
Yeah, right.
Just acoustically.
And then with the pickups, it's a whole another game, isn't it?
Then with the pickups, another thing. But the other thing about these, I'd actually did some email way back in the day with a chap called Neville Martin, who used to be the editor of Guitar
great guy.
magazine, Guitarist magazine.
Great guy.
Nice man, and a bit of an expert on Les Pauls.
Yes.
And I dropped him an email and said, listen, I've just discovered something, and that is that even when you don't have it plugged in, and you play a chord, particularly around the mid-range of the neck.
Chimes.
Right? If you put your ear to the guitar, it's not so much chimes, it almost sounds like it's feeding back. The harmonics change.
Yeah.
And if you listen to some of the endings on the Beano album,
Yes.
when, okay, he's playing through overdrive and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
and he finishes on that, A9th, and that A9th chord changes harmonic shape. It doesn't sound quite like an A9. Different overtones come out to make it a more interesting chord.
Right.
And lo and behold, I found that happening when I wasn't even plugged in.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, we're talking about angels on pinheads
Yeah,
here,
but that's something that people aren't going to know unless they own one. Or play one.
and you literally have to live with it, and it suddenly kind of creeps up on you, and you go, oh, that's what it's about. And you can only get that through familiarity. But when I exchanged with him, he'd obviously, seen and worked on many more standards than I have still. And I said to him, have you found this? And he came back and said, just reading your email, I know that you are holding a real one.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the kind of thing that you learn and understand and feel when you're allowed to be with one for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's about the wood, isn't it? Because, I mean, this thing here, it's got the wood because it's hard Eastern, whatever that is. Honduras mahogany, Honduras rosewood. So it's not Brazilian rosewood like this one. But I think that the mahogany, that Honduras mahogany, which is probably what this is, it counts for a hell of a lot.
I don't know if there's any. If we were acoustic guitar guys, we'd be tapping the guitars and we'd be looking for the back and the front to resonate at a slightly different pitch. And what's interesting is you listen to these two solid guitars and it's about the same note when you hit them.
Wow.
That may be significant. I've never thought of that before.
There's good guitars and there's bad guitars.
But also, most important, right? It's what you can afford and what you like.
Yeah.
Right, and you just do have to go, with your heart on this one. That's why I say, when you walk into a store, sometimes you find a guitar and you just go, I'm not in the market for this, but I really like this guitar so much, and not because it's fluorescent green flame, right, or a pointy headstock. It's because when I pick it up, it's like, oh, I don't want to put this down. I really want to keep playing this, making music on it, which is, by the way, what I said to Cliff when he first gave me a prototype of one of his amps.
Yeah.
And I said at the end of the weekend, I said, it's a fantastic amps. I know they're fantastic amps because I don't want to give it back. Yeah. And when you go in a guitar store, if you find a guitar like that, I know it's easy for me to spend other people's money, but seriously, that's how it works.
Okay, guys.
Hey.
I don't know if we've
enough code philosophy for the day.
Yeah, I don't know if we've worked anything out in this video, have we? Have we worked anything out?
Well, we've established that we've got two Les Pauls in front of us, and we've established that your ESP Navigator Les Paul is a hell of a good recent Les Paul clone type guitar.
Yeah, it's a nice. It holds its own.
Feels and sounds fantastic.
It's never going to be a burst. It's never going to have that special extra thing that bursts have, but it's not. It does me proud. Let's end on some Mach Nofla. That's it.
Cheers.
Take care. Goodbye from
Bob. And goodbye from
me.